Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to the one and only Hyper Manic Noize podcast. Turn it up.
Hello and welcome back to episode 38 of the Hyper Manic Noize podcast. And this one is another hip-hop episode. This time I sat down with Lydia, aka Ms.She. She's an Indigenous Aussie who now lives in Canada. It was really interesting to chat to her. We spoke about a lot of issues that Indigenous people face in Australia. Lydia is also married to a member of the Blackfoot People, who are First Nations people in Canada. So it was interesting to hear the issues that not only she faced and faces in Australia as an Indigenous woman, but the issues that her partner faces in Canada. It's basically the same bullshit served up on the other side of the world to a completely different people. Basically, us whiteys, we're pretty fucked. I met Lydia at a hip-hop show recently. She killed it. It was her first ever live appearance, and she's got a lot of cool stuff happening. She's actually being featured on Triple J. You can check her music out at triplejOneEarth.com/artist/Ms.She. That's M-S-S-H-E. And she's got the two songs up there at the moment, Same Crime and White Dust. Both of those songs are featured in this episode, so you can check them out there. You can also find her on Instagram, which is Lydia_White Elk, and on Facebook, Lydia White Elk. Yeah, so really get on board. She's got some new tracks coming out. Her music is actually going to be featured as the intro music to a new show that's coming to ABC called The Heights. They've already locked in production for 30 episodes in the first season. It's going to air in 2019, so she's really on the up and up. So yeah, dig it. It's a really interesting chat. I definitely learned a lot. We had a good time. We had a laugh. It was really good to talk to a hip-hop artist that has something to say, creates her own beats, and has a really unique point of view. So I'm sure you'll I'm sure you'll all enjoy it. Support Ms.She, and thanks for coming back to the podcast.
Hey, this is Trevor Sternat from the Black Dahlia Murder here. You're listening to the Hyper Manic Noize podcast.
Podcast initiation complete. Warning. This episode may cause brain damage.
I'm sick of talking about things that don't exist. That's a concept, please don't insist. But you're charming, how can I resist? Keep your concepts, me you won't enlist. The concept that aids your own relief. The views you hold may alleviate grief. It doesn't make it true though, here's a debrief. Because people support it, it doesn't make it true. Our brains are lazy, it takes effort to think new. A repetition can override the truth. The ones at the apex are all aloof. The information they hold our minds for navigation. One mind behind all publication. Hard to form ideas without suffocation. Understand the power lies within the truth. Question everything. Self-educate in your youth. Accusation. Does the truth really matter? Brute force intimidation. I cope with the latter.
Ms.She, welcome. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Cool. So we met the other night doing a hip-hop show. And this is a bit of a convoluted story because you've flown from Canada for the show.
Yes.
But you're from Perth.
Yes.
So how'd you end up in Canada?
Okay, so I was part of a program when I was 16.
Yep.
And it was a program that was more of like an assimilation kind of thing. So when I finished the program...
In a good way?
In a bad way, like...
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Shit. I was thinking, I'm like, oh, is that a good thing? Or
no, not really.
All right.
But I did learn like some good life lessons, but most of all it was a bit like... It was like, for example, I was banned to talk about Aboriginal issues, and I was also... one time the lady was doing the Maori face at me, like the haka face, like to tongue out and the eyes. And she's a white lady, she's a leader, but she was trying to like say like piss me off because culturally I was like very identifying with my Aboriginal stuff. But
yeah,
I guess
which is fair enough.
But I think she was trying to kind of like use another culture against me to try and make me feel like less than or demeaned or diminished or something, which I've noticed like a lot of Australians do. Like they'll kind of say, oh well, you're not New Zealander, or you're not like Native American, or you're not like Black American. They'll just be like, you know, you're not as bad as their struggles, and like you just should just like be like Australian, I guess. So anyways, I was part of that program and stuff, and then I actually ended up getting married straight after the program because I was like staying there for 5 years of my life.
You assimilated with the wrong people, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
So your husband is First Nations?
Yeah, he's First Nations.
Forgive my ignorance, is that how you refer to
Yeah, that's how you refer it. Yeah, that's how you refer it in Canada. So yeah, I just like met him online and stuff, and we started talking, and then we got into conversations about certain issues, and then we really hit it off and everything. And then maybe like a year or so, we just decided to get married.
Isn't it weird though that you guys are from opposite ends of the world, but your experiences in life are so similar? Yeah, it's just fucking horrible that it's happened everywhere. That white people have gone. Yeah, but I don't know. I wouldn't say it's good, but I mean, you guys had something to talk about of substance, and then you're married. Yeah, I think we just really bonded over the treatment and just the issues and the ideologies, and I really liked his ideas, and I felt really empowered by them. So I just started to feel like, wow, his mind is so awesome, and he's like very proud of like his culture and that's wicked, everything like that. So what's the story of his people? I mean, where are they from? So their name is like Blackfoot. It's Nitsi Tapi, but they speak Nitsi Puksin, and they are the Lords of the Plains. Yep. So the plains of North America is kind of where they would be, and they were buffalo people, so they would also follow the buffalo, and that was their main life source. Yep. And so their land now there's one reservation in Browning, Montana, and then there's 3 in Canada. Okay. And in Canada they're called reserves, and then so that's what they've kind of become now, is those 4 different reserves. Okay. But essentially they're kind of not Canadian, not American. They're just Blackfoot. Yep. And they're happens to be across the border type thing. Okay. Just on the border of Canada. So how does that are they able to travel between without going through customs or anything, or is that they have their status cards, which kind of identifies them as like, oh cool. They're called Indian status cards, but it identifies them as that. Fucking hell. Yeah. Okay, of course they are. Yeah, so they just present that when crossing by land, and then usually they get through. Yeah. That's so fucked. Yeah. It's like, oh, we're gonna give you some sort of access to your land. By the way, we're going to use the wrong name. Yeah. It's like, it's kind of the history, I guess. They had like Indian agents, which would make sure that they didn't go off the reserve, and they'd have to kind of like, the Indian agent would be in control of them, and like basically prison guards. Yeah, basically. Like, there's no fences, but you're not allowed to leave, kind of thing. Yeah, kind of, exactly, because that's worse in a way. Yeah, because they made treaties, they signed them, and then they said, okay, this is where you're going to stay, and if you come off that means you'll like assimilate and you'll be a Canadian, and you'll have to give up your Indian status card and your Indian kind of identity, I suppose. So they had to choose one or the other, but when you're living on there, obviously, it's very oppressive. And they had like residential schools,
they had schools in which, like, I suppose it was run by different religious groups.
Of course, yeah.
And they cut the hair off and took the jewelry, and the kids were banned from speaking their native tongue.
That's what they do.
And then even some of the residential schools, they experimented on the kids. Just the whole ideology of, say, like, subhuman ideology.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Europe?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I went to some of the concentration camps from World War II. Are you just like, how could you do this to an animal, let alone a person? Like, you wouldn't do that to plants. Yeah. You water plants, but and it's fucked to see that happens everywhere. Yeah. But so how does that's a really good backstory. I mean, it's not a good you know what I'm saying? Like, it's very interesting. And I think a lot of people probably aren't aware. I mean, to Native Americans as in America, to a certain extent, there's enough movies about it that it makes sense. But as far as the Canadian experience, you know, for the most part, very different people. And the fact that, you know, the Americans put the border through there, they're like, well, hang on, our people are on both sides of that. What the fuck do we do?
Exactly.
That's crazy. So how does this lead to hip-hop?
So basically, I married my husband and I've always been interested in hip-hop. And my husband has always encouraged me in pursuing things that I feel passionate about. So when I was in certain programs, because I went into programs for mental health and addiction, and when I was in those programs in Australia, I felt I was given certain amount of responsibility, but not really. So they would kind of cut me off. There was a cap and stuff like that. So I always did like hip hop, but I just wasn't allowed to really pursue it. So when I got married and I shared my passion with my husband, he just encouraged me to keep going with it. And as we spoke about different issues surrounding First Nations and Aboriginal people in Australia, I started to really get angry, and I started to, like, hip hop meant a lot more to me then, because I even watched a show on Netflix. It's called
The Evolution of Hip Hop.
It's called The Get Down.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Baz Luhrmann.
Yep.
So that I watched that. I've been watching a lot of stuff. I listen to Charlemagne the God, The Breakfast Club.
Okay.
And I just really got into just everything, the politics of it and all that stuff. And I just thought it's kind of like a cool idea to have my voice, but apply it with their structure of hip-hop. So take what they've made in America and take it and kind of like make it my own with my own thoughts and maybe like an Aboriginal flavour type thing.
Well, your lyrics are very powerful, and you've actually got something to say, and a lot of hip hop doesn't. It's either bitches hoes or it's like this dissing culture of, oh, fuck you, I'm the best MC, which is cool to listen to, don't get me wrong, but it's not something that's going to resonate with you and go, fuck. But you can tell with your lyrics you've got something to say, you've got a unique point of view that a lot of people listening don't have that experience, but you've managed to make it relatable to everybody, and I guess educational in a weird way.
That's kind of what I wanted to do, because I think it was important getting my thoughts down and what I was really thinking, why we have issues, and I just wanted to really get it down and like point out specific things that I think lead to racism. Yeah.
So what about the composition side? How did you get involved in all of that?
Well, when my father passed away, he was actually full blood from up north in Kimberley region. And so he passed away, and he was actually working on the station. The Moola Bulla, he was born on Moola Bulla station, which is in the Kimberleys, and his dad was on the Moola Bulla station, and they were basically different from when the stations came along. They lived different lives, but then the stations were set up to make the Aboriginal people stay in one place.
Same shit as the...
and work there and stuff like that. So basically my dad...
It's so fucked.
Yeah. But yeah, my dad, he was working as a stockman, so he was working with horses and cattle and stuff. And he passed away, but he didn't have a lot of money to like leave to us. So, which is kind of usually a thing. I like growing up, for example, my dad, he couldn't pay or give us anything of monetary value.
Okay.
And sadly, culture isn't seen as important. So it kind of, like, he thought it was better if we spoke English and not Gidcha or Jaru.
Okay.
So...
Well, I guess in his day it would have been easier.
Yeah.
Just, less hassle.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know that, English was his second language. So yeah, he passed away and he left us like $2,000. There's 5 of us. He left us like $2,000 each. But with that $2,000, I bought a Studio One software as well as an audio box. And so when I bought that with that money, I thought I'm gonna like think this is like my dad's money that he gave me, and I'm gonna like repurpose it and be like, this is the foundation on which I'm gonna do music.
Yeah.
And say that honoring his legacy type thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
So when I got that software, I just sat there for hours on end just like creating beats and just really trying to feel something, because music makes you feel something, and I just like wanted to get my feelings out. And so I ended up making like tracks, but the tracks really resonate with people. I found the other night a lot of people liked them.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously one of them got chosen to be the headline title for a show that's coming 2019 in Australia. So it seems like the beats are making people feel something, which is how I made them. Like, I was feeling something at the time. So yeah.
And the thing I noticed the other night was that it's always the way when people in the audience, for the most part, aren't familiar with an artist. They come in dribs and drabs, and it's how many people you can keep and how many people you can gather throughout the set. So at the start of your set, there's a few people watching. By the end of your set, everyone had come in and was watching.
Yeah.
And you got massive cheers and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's what wins people over. I've seen it at festivals where they have all the timing fucked up, and then a band takes the stage when the other bands are still playing, and there'll be 20 people there, and then by the end of it there's 300 because the music's powerful enough. You're walking past to get a hot dog, you're like, fuck that, I'll watch this is way better than a hot dog.
Oh, that's
so,
cool. Yeah.
So that was your first live performance?
Yeah, that was my first live performance. Yeah.
Okay. And how was it? Because I could tell you were hell nervous.
I was so nervous because I didn't want to mess up the lyrics, but I just have to learn my lyrics properly. But for the most part, I think it went well, and I think it was really crazy because like I am obviously like brown. I'm not dark skinned. My dad's like proper full blood. Like, I'm actually half. So yeah, I'm brown. But I've always obviously noticed that I look different, because I've been raised like amongst like white people and stuff. So it was really interesting. There was a young woman in the crowd, and she was a real pretty like Aussie chick. She had like real long blonde hair, and she was like real beautiful. And she was like so encouraging to me. Yeah. Like, she was even like dancing and everything. And I saw that was like so cool. Like, it was just like really, really encouraging to me.
Well, also I think the fact that so many dudes were like, fuck yeah, this is wicked. Yeah. Because, a lot of dudes are standing up the back with their arms folded, like, okay, impress me. So it's, I think, yeah. And the thing, I think I mentioned this the other night, I could tell with the first song or so you were really nervous, but then you hit this point where you were just in the zone, and it was, I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's like the audience didn't matter. But not that they didn't matter, but the stress of being in front of an audience doesn't matter. Yeah. And I think when you get lost in that, that's when you're really you. Yeah. And that was cool. Like, you were grooving along to the songs, and you could just see that the nervousness had gone, and all of a sudden you got into it. Yeah. And it was wicked.
Thank you.
Because it's not often you get to see an artist's first show as well.
Yeah, true.
And also, usually, especially in hip hop, they've got a backing track, and they just rap over it. They haven't produced it themselves, so not only does lyrical content really important, but you've made the beats that go with it. Yeah. So that makes you more vulnerable, because I can be like, oh, the beat's wicked, but I hate the rapping.
Right, exactly.
Or they could be like, I don't like any of it. Well, I made all of it.
Yeah.
Some of the beats I've got for my EP are like done by producers, because I don't have the equipment. Yeah. Like, I'm a multi-instrumentalist, but I don't know how to do it electronically. I'm real, like a caveman. Yeah. But at least people can like the beats or hate them, and I can be, that's not mine, brother. I didn't make that. Yeah, true. But you've got to be like, I did all of this.
Yeah. One of the beats, the one called Colony, is actually made by my mate.
Oh, sweet.
But he and I have a similar thing, and I think I'll work with him more. But I do like incorporating maybe like more drum and bass electronic stuff.
I thought that was some of the coolest stuff, how it would just kick. You'd have those breaks that it really changed up the flow of the song, but it really fit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time it doesn't fit when people do that. You know, you're trying to shoehorn. But it was a different choice, but a logical choice once you hear it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's cool.
I'm glad you feel that way.
So are you planning, like, what have you got out so far?
All right, so basically just on Triple J on Earth right now, I have the song called Same Crime and White Dust.
Okay.
Yeah. So Same Crime is about just like the injustice of the justice system. My friend, she's a lawyer, and she's white Australian, but she can also attest to the fact that a lot of the time Aboriginal people are dealt with in a different way in the court system. And so Same Crime is just talking about like same crime, more time. So just about the injustice of the justice system. And
it's ironic that it's even called the justice system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You got inside my head. I remember what you said. You said black, white, yellow, red. Remember we all bled the same that day. Some walk with their head held high, others shame, they're shy. But I wanna know, I gotta know, why do I always cry? If we all bleed the same, then why do some of us die the way we do? Some say don't behave the way you do. The same rule apply to you, majority. Decides the rule, is the rule equal? Same crime, more time. How is that equal? Is the rule equal? Is it illegal to divide the people? If we all bleed the same, then why do some of us cry the way we do? Watch relatives die the way we do. Explain to me without refraining me. I'm cutting through. Express yourself, get out of your own way. Biggest enemy is ourselves, the victim we will play. At the end of the day, we will have our say. Time will drift away, memories of the past will fade away. But never forget, always change, never stay the same. I feel like there's a myth of equality. People serve more time. Some people are dealt through equality. Two people, same crime. Death based on sociology. It's a race against time. Remember the past so it will fade slowly for a moment in time. Death based on sociology. It's a race against time. Remember the past or it will fade slowly for a moment in time. I feel like we can change consciously by respecting mankind. Don't justify inequality, gotta open our mind. It's not based on conformity, people have their own mind. Be true to you, stay true to you, the truth you will find.
Which is interesting because that kind of brings a whole nother point of view, which I address in my other song, Colony, which I'm releasing 2019, that I performed there at the night. But Colony kind of more addresses like colonization mindset, so and assimilation regimes. And so Same Crime's more just like my kind of heartfelt sadness towards just the mistreatment of Aboriginal people. Just especially like recently up, I think it was called Kalgoorlie, and there was a kid who died. His name I can't remember, but
the cops that let him like cook in the back of the...
Well, there's that. Yeah, there's that as well. There was a young child in Kalgoorlie and he was murdered by a white Australian man. And the white Australian man didn't get... I think he got a bit of a slap on the wrist. But I'm going to have to... Hopefully, I should probably know the name. I think he's Justice for Elijah. Justice for Elijah. Yeah, so he... was murdered, and what happened is I was in Australia at that time because I was visiting my family, and I saw the Aboriginal people do a big riot outside of the courthouse, and they were like smashing windows and whatnot. And when I was watching it, because my parents are white, both of them are white, my stepdad and my mum are white, and it's plastered all over the TV, you know, like Aboriginal people are running a big old muck and they're just like trashing the place. And
they would never put context in there for that shit either.
Yeah, exactly. It was a bit crazy. But I must say, like, Waleed from the project, I think. Okay. Yeah, he was like really cool. Like, he was all pro-Indigenous, which I thought was really nice. Okay. But
I can't stand that show. It bores me shitless.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing against the message. It's just like watching Hey It's Saturday or something. Yeah. I can't do this.
But yeah, so I remember that was kind of like a formative thing to my song Same Crime. It's just because I thought, yeah, like these black fellas are real angry. There's context. You know, they're kind of just sick of being dehumanized and disrespected, and they're people getting killed and not enough. There's no justice in the justice system. And it just made me think of my grandfather too, because my grandfather was a lawman, and he was like, he knew all the ins and outs of culture, and he and our culture have been so like put to the back burner and said it's got nothing of use in this day and age. But I think that if we worked actually truly together, we could come to something different. But what's happened is the justice system has just been like a result of the colony and whatnot, and it's kind of not like really that fair to other kinds of people and stuff, especially like First Nations people.
Yeah, well, from what you said about your dad, I mean, I think that's probably the nature of assimilation and repression, where he's just gone, look, I can stand up for my stuff, or I can just go with the flow and not get fucked up all the time.
Right,
you know, like
right.
Not getting slapped around the head for speaking his own language and that. Well, okay, I'm just going to speak English and get on with it.
Yeah.
Which is fucked, because like there's got to be that thing in your back of your head all the time. Like, I could speak my own language, but this is just easier.
Yeah.
And it's still not easy, but yeah, I don't know. Would be a weird spot to be in.
Yeah, that's why I kind of discuss it in the music, you know, like Same Crime, that's what I discuss a bit. And then White Dust actually is the other one on Triple J Unearthed, and it's about kind of going beyond, I guess, like more like identity stuff, more going into like media. So the lyrics are I'm sick of talking about things that don't exist. That's a concept. Please don't insist. But you're charming. How can I resist? Keep your concepts. Me, you won't enlist. So it's more talking about other issues surrounding the specific issue, is like media and how it portrays people, and like how there's like, and then the rest of the lyrics is like, one mind behind all publication. It's hard to form ideas without suffocation. So it's like, you know, the media is very like one-sided and stuff like that.
And often not accurate.
Yeah. So I think it's like such a complex, so that's why I just like talk about all the different aspects of the issues, and I try not to make it too like one-sided. I also like read a lot of other sides of stories and things like that. But I think specifically in Australia, I think unfortunately I personally haven't found my voice, but I have found it in my hip-hop. So yeah.
Well, it's a good way to reach people though.
Yeah.
Because you'll get people that are listening to it and not realising what's being said at first.
Yeah.
And then oh fuck, that's a good point.
Yeah.
The people will be listening to it because it's a good song. And then a certain point, the actual content of the lyrics, where they go, oh fuck, that's brutal.
Yeah.
And I noticed that when we did that cypher track,
yeah,
your lyrics were just like, oh fuck. And I had all these other lyrics, and Paul's like, oh, nah, like more of a party vibe. So I wrote that stupid hook, which was just like, yeah, let's all get lit and party. And he's like, I don't think we could put your chorus before Ms.She. So why is that? Because it's like stupid party vibes and then like real important shit. And I said, good point. So that was why he had the scratch break there. That was fun. That was a fun day.
I figure I can't really get my voice out there but in like these kinds of things, whether it be hip-hop, well, mainly hip-hop. It's just sad that unfortunately I'm not Black American and like people like to remind me of that. And it's just like, who cares?
But I don't get it. What do you mean? Like,
well, it's like for some reason, some people in the past, they've been saying, oh, you're Aboriginal, you have no business doing hip-hop because you should be just following your culture type thing.
Who says this? Is this people online?
I mean, yeah, most part, but I don't know if it's like a big opinion, but it's something that definitely I think about because I personally don't want to like disrespect like Black culture either. So I get a bit funny about that
too. The whole thing is like, who's the biggest hip-hop artist in the world? Probably Eminem.
Yeah, but he's so funny about it, don't you reckon? Like he said in that one of his lyrics was like, "I use black music to get wealthy."
Yeah,
he just owns it.
But he knows what it is.
Yeah, he knows what it
But
is.
like, what? How far back are we going here? As far as where did music come from? Well, a lot of guitars and things came from the Middle East. Drums were everywhere. So who does it belong to? It's music.
Well, that's why I chose to make my own beats because I think it's important as an Aboriginal woman. I feel it's important that I make my own beats because that way it can be really truly like I'm not trying to appropriate anything, like that's just my beats I've made.
Yeah,
you know?
That's a good point.
That's kind of why I chose to do that.
I think even just on a creative level, I know for me, I'm working with producers on this release and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But, I've been nominated for songs that I've written for awards and stuff. That's better.
Yeah.
Because I wrote the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like, so I get both sides of it. But again, like, why wouldn't you work with your mate that did that beat for you?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So that side of it's cool too about hip-hop, the collab side.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I would love to tap into more.
And he's on the same wavelength with your message and your music.
Exactly.
So it makes sense. Whereas me, with the sort of metal sort of stuff, would be like, like I don't know if I'd have anything to add to your act, to your, music musically.
Yeah. Oh, I love heavy metal though.
Yeah.
Like I loved what
good.
you did. I thought it was so sick.
Oh, thank you.
Because, like, honestly, sometimes heavy metal just hits that spot where you just, like, want to rage. And I feel like it was so appropriate in your set. Like, it was just, like, I felt so, like, rage. It was,
In the same way that you're writing about all the issues that, you see and you know from your life, for me, everything's mental health related because I'm fucked in the head.
Yeah.
So it's my way of trying to deal with it.
Yeah, I loved it.
And that song that This Is Why I'm Dark song, I legitimately wrote that in 24 hours. I didn't move from the computer and I was off my face because I was hoping to OD. And I went into the psych ward after that. Like that's...
Yeah.
And I didn't want to put it out because it's too honest. But at the same time, that's why I have to put it out, I think. So.
Yeah, I felt something like... I didn't feel anything the whole night, no offense to other people, but when you spoke, I felt something.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and that's what, because I'm like with my stuff, and even, neither of us is really going with the, like, that has its place, and I've got a little bit of that in some songs, but at the same time, I want to actually be able to hear, like, some trying to think of an example. Some, especially the ciphers, they're so fast.
Yeah.
Like I have to listen to it 5 times to understand what you're saying. And at that point, I'm thinking, well, does this serve a purpose?
Right.
Because I can't understand you. You speak in English. I speak English, and I have to like translate it like I'm a fucking Egyptologist.
Yeah.
So. I mean, I think Tech Nine's a good example. He's got that crazy fast-paced stuff, but he also takes a backseat on the groove. He knows when to slot it in and when not to. Yeah. And I think a lot of hip hop, I think, it's too much just for the sake of it.
Yeah. And of course, like it's like you said, it serves its purpose. I suppose I don't see myself in that scene. I just feel more like the old school message where it was like, we're a bunch of kids in the Bronx or Brooklyn and we're just going to do some MCing. And, you know, part of it was just clowning and whatnot. But, you know, I always like just to think about the ones that kind of wrote like socially justice orientated lyrics type thing.
Well, you don't sit around in a dark time thinking about, let's get fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, because
yeah.
it's the songs that the songs that'll make you cry is because it's not the music generally, it's what's being said.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the music, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's that, yeah, it's the songs with substance. And I think that's, going back to Eminem, that's part of the reason why he's been so successful. Not only is he brilliant, but it's the honesty. Like from day one, he was wearing his heart on his sleeve. And I think a lot of people, it's this, all you other MCs can suck my dick and all this sort of shit. Like, who are you mad at, bro? Like, they seem to be mad at fucking everybody. Like, and no one that matters. Like, I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
Did you find this funny at all to be at a hip hop show?
Yeah.
And it's like all white people? Or is that what you expected?
Kind of in Australia, you kind of expect that, to be honest with you.
But it's so weird. Like,
yeah.
Like, I've made the joke when I've had to do comedy at those shows before. Like,
do they look at you angrily?
Talk about cultural appropriation.
But do they look at you angrily when you say that?
Well, they all laugh at it because they know it's
true.
They get it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've got a theory about that too.
Yeah.
So like, a bit coming from the heavy metal scene, if Slipknot comes to town, they have a support act usually from somewhere else, and then they'll have a local support act.
Yeah.
Or a nationally recognised Australian support act.
Yeah.
And it's the same for every metal tour.
Yeah.
Except, like, huge ones.
Yeah.
And even them they usually have. But with hip-hop, if Jay-Z comes, Eminem comes, Kendrick Lamar comes, there's no local act opening for that shit. It's always someone they've brought with them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I think that's the problem with, like, the grassroots sort of level is that you've got 40,000 people in a stadium that all love hip-hop, but they're not even aware that there's a local hip-hop scene. And I think that's probably an issue in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Because it's just crazy marketing. Like, if you can get someone like Complete, I don't know if you've heard him, Perth MC, incredible, or Bluntfield, or those guys, you can get them in front of that audience. Even if 5% of the people like them, they get 5,000 more fans. Yeah. Instantly, but it's just not part of that touring culture for whatever reason.
I wonder if it is kind of an identity thing. I'm not sure. I have been listening a lot to Black American commentators on YouTube about certain issues, particularly surrounding like appropriation. Like one of the biggest people that I listen to is like Charlemagne the God.
Okay.
And I know like he always gets a lot of shit for like when there's like a white, well, everyone gives him shit because like when Post Malone goes on his show, like he just rips a new one basically, and they always.
I'll have to watch that. Yeah, because I hate that guy just from his face. I haven't heard the music.
But he looks like an Australian. Like, he looks Aussie. He looks like an Aussie.
Yeah, he does.
He just like everything he
that
does.
got on the meth for a couple of weeks and got some terrible tattoos.
Yeah, yeah.
But the little bit of music I've heard, I'm like, anyway.
Yeah, no, but like I always listen to like Charlemagne. To me, like, I know a lot of people like disagree with him, and he's a bit like rude and stuff. But I listen to a whole bunch of them as a result of that. There's like Thought Crimes on YouTube, and there's like, but they're all like Black American based. But you know, they discuss all this stuff. They discuss things like cultural appropriation, this, that, and the third type thing. And like in terms of like to me, like in terms of like if you want to be an Aussie hip hop artist or whatever, and kind of get respect from what like the American acts that come over, like maybe Post Malone, like he might be like a champion for Aussie hip hop, but I'm not sure about the others, you know. Well,
Tech 9 had locals.
Oh yeah.
Chris Webby had locals. I know Mad Child's an underground dude from Canada.
Yeah.
He's got locals. So more the underground scene.
Yeah.
But see, that those people already go to those shows. We're not opening a new audience. And that sucks. Because why wouldn't... Imagine the local that gets to support Eminem, the amount of... just one show.
Yeah.
And you give somebody that opportunity in every city. You do the same for Jay-Z.
Yeah.
But the problem is... the promoter isn't interested in that. They're interested in making money, and that's their job. So would you rather...
Right, so it's like complex,
Yeah, because I've worked closely with promoters, and we can put a local on and sell 40,000 tickets, or we can put a slightly different hip-hop artist on and sell 50,000 tickets.
Yeah.
That's their business. They've got families. But yeah, I don't know. It's a
Yeah,
shame.
no, I see what you're saying. I think I saw 50 Cent, he had an affiliation with Baker Boy. I don't know if you heard of Baker Boy. He's like a proper like dark-skinned black fella.
Cool.
I think he's from like Northern Territory or something.
See, that's good.
But yeah, so I saw that.
Yeah, that's wicked.
So I mean, that's one. And then you're saying like Tech 9 had that. So maybe it's just one of those things where it's just like maybe over time or something.
I hope so.
Because I saw on YouTube the other day, like there was some American guys like reacting to Aussie hip hop.
There's lots of that.
Yeah.
Lots of it.
So maybe it just needs a bit of getting in there.
I think it's the accent. Because I know when I started, I was like, 10 years ago I wrote this hip hop song and it was all in an American accent.
Yeah.
And then Bluntfield was the one like, what? Have you thought about not doing it in an American accent? And I got defensive, and I was like, oh man, it just sounds good, man.
Yeah.
And then it fucking, because of my like ADD bipolar brain, it would just go around and they're like, why are you using an American accent? Why are you using an American accent? And then when I started recording it, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And now I would never do that.
Yeah.
And now when I hear people, it bothers me so much because you're literally not using your voice.
Yeah. You aren't, yeah.
At all.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. Like, obviously I do rap with the Aussie accent and stuff, but yeah, no, I mean, my Australian accent isn't like as crazy as yours, for example, but like, yeah.
Mine's fucked.
Mine's still like it's still very different. I think maybe just like American hip hop is just more like, perhaps they're closed-minded to other accents.
I don't know.
I know, because they don't seem to like UK accents too much. So
I get it.
Yeah.
I hate my accent. That's why I didn't want to rap in it.
Yeah. But we like it.
Oh, I hope so.
The fellow Australians like it.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess we're going to have to be okay with that just for now until something maybe shifts. I'm not sure what it's going to be.
I don't know. Then there's, not exactly hip-hop per se, but like the Prodigy.
Right.
Have real breathe the pressure, like real English accents.
UK accent, yeah.
So I think Aussie hip hop is gonna have to blow up in the UK, and then it's probably gonna go.
That's true. It seems
It's a bit more it's a bit less of a mountain to climb for some reason.
Exactly.
Like Neighbours is popular in the UK.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why that's popular anywhere.
Yeah.
Let alone here.
I know, right?
Fuck me. Like Toadfish just has 7 years off and then he's back, and it's like
it's the same. And he's like dying and then resurrected.
I haven't watched it for 10 years and I turn it on. You turn it on every 10 years and they're like, okay, Toadfish is gone, he's back. Oh, that guy's back. Like people just seem to think, oh, I'm bigger than Neighbours, and then
they're not.
For 6 years they have no work and then they come back.
Oh no, that's true. I've often thought that we have to like cross over to the UK first, I reckon. But
stand-up comedy is good that way. Like the audience, an Aussie comedian will get more press and more gigs and get further in the UK than the US. Yeah. And Jim Jeffries is proof of that.
Oh yeah.
He started in Perth, went to the UK, took ages for him to get sort of a following in the States, and then he had a huge following in the States, huge following in the UK, but couldn't sell tickets in Australia.
Oh man.
And he's Australian.
Jeez.
But that happens. Like a band from Brisbane, Mortal Sin, they played in Brisbane, I think this was 2008, and to about 30 people. Yeah. And they were the first metal band from Australia signed to an international label. Oh. Toured with Metallica in the 80s.
Oh, cool.
So, and here they are in 2008 playing to 30 people in Brisbane.
Oh, man.
I see them a couple of months later in Germany playing to 5,000 people.
Whoa, crazy.
So,
dude, that's interesting.
Yeah. People have said, I've done a lot of music industry workshops and things. Yeah. And they say stuff like, you only need a hit somewhere. Yeah. Doesn't matter where it is. Yeah. And just somewhere, yeah, you never know where.
Interesting.
That Aussie thrash band from Melbourne, for some reason, Germans fucking love them.
Interesting.
And
look at AC/DC. I mean...
Yeah, everyone loves them for some reason.
But, I mean, that's kind of the heart of Australia, isn't it, I feel? Well,
Bogan, Australia,
kind of Bogan, Australia.
My people, Queenslanders.
Yeah. Which, that's why I kind of liked your stuff, because there is something special in that as well. Because, like, spending time overseas as well, like... Obviously, I don't like the racism, but I do appreciate the the difference between, say, like a Canadian and Australian. Like, there is definitely a difference, you know. So I do really, that's why I really liked your stuff, because I was like, you know, you're really kind of unashamedly like Australian, and you're also like not racist, and you're also like just tapping into that like rawness of what it means to be like an Australian, I guess.
Yeah, and something on this show that I'm really open about is my mental health shit, and I've done entire episodes talking about it.
Yeah.
That's something I really want through the music as well, because life's fucked. Mm-hmm. And we've all got our addictions, we've all got our mental health disorders. I've got a list of acronyms attached to my name. ADD, PTSD, BPD. Like, it's like a game of Scrabble.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's my experience, so that's all I can share.
Yeah.
I couldn't write about your experience because I don't know it. I need someone like you to write cool music so I can hear it.
Yes, yeah, same.
And I think...
Exactly.
And I think something, too, that, you know, you'll find the further you go is that even people that didn't share your experience can relate to it, and they can relate to you're putting it in a very smart, artistic way. So you're not force feeding anything. You're just telling your story, and I think that's what people are going to vibe with.
Yeah.
So you fly back tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
It's crazy because I'm like, sometimes I will like pronounce things and I'll be like over exaggerate the R, or you know, that now that I've been living out there in Canada. So I feel like it's just really interesting. My identity and stuff is just like, it's changing a lot.
I think it's malleable.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way. When I used to spout some horrific shit when I was younger.
Yeah.
Like when I was in grade 1 or 2, eeny, meeny, miny, mo wasn't catch a tiger by the toe. I didn't know what that word meant. Yeah. But that's what we said. Yeah. Because whoever taught me with the N word in it. Yeah. So I think once you get out, like, because it's a very insular environment, everyone around you is racist. Once you get out of there, you go, oh, that's really fucked. And I don't actually think any of those things.
Yeah, and I think that was like part of my like escape from Australia, not to be too dark, but I kind of just was a little depressed from just the treatment and stuff. Just because it's like, it wasn't like people were trying to be rude, but at the same time, so many people are so ignorant, and like, for example, I was walking down the street one time and like someone's like, oh, you're a black slut. And it's just like, and I've been multiple times just trying to go to the store and people just like looking at me like as if I'm going to steal something, and just, it's just like, and then police like pull me over and say, what are you doing and stuff like that. It's just like, I just kind of was like happy to kind of like go somewhere else. Yeah. Even though like a lot of time people are like, oh, just face it, like get over it, face it. But you know, it's just like, it does go down on your mental health. And like,
yeah, fuck yeah.
Especially like, I remember with Adam Goods, like when he had the banana thrown at him and stuff, like he just was really, I think people just don't like really think of like the mental kind of stuff that like Aboriginal people, the toll that takes on you. Like it just gets to you.
It's like you know, growing up with domestic violence. It's like that, but society is the one that's treating you like a piece of shit. Yeah. So it's like you've almost got PTSD built in just by the nature of the place you're growing up.
Exactly. Yeah. So
So they were filming a bit of a.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to talk about that?
Yeah. So I reckon so it's going to be released in a couple of, like 5 weeks, I think. They're doing a documentary on, like, Aboriginal artists. Mm-hmm. And so they just went and recorded some of my gig. And I talked a little bit about, like, my experience and why it is that I choose to do, like, the specific art that I choose to do. And how that pertains to me being Aboriginal and expressing my culture and whatnot. So that there is just an exploration of like what made me get into hip hop, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, like, yeah, it's hip hop, I guess. It's like the heart of it's hip hop, but it is, maybe it's not so much hip hop as like what America would consider hip hop, but it's kind of just like a voice of someone who's rhyming over some tracks, beats that I made, who happens to have an identity issue, and it's my way of communicating with the world how much I just am sick and tired of getting treated like subhuman, basically.
It's a fair point.
So, yeah. And just like...
It's 2018, you still have to say that.
I get really
so
sick of it.
Fucked, though.
Yeah. No, but that's why I like songs like I'm Not Racist. Like, it's very refreshing, to be honest.
The thing I like about that is that people get it in their head and they're like, oh, I'm walking around going, oh, I'm not a racist. You're going to get punched in the head with no context. You better sing the whole fucking song.
Is a racist statement.
Yeah. You got to sing the whole chorus or else you'll get punched in the head because that line on its own is horrific.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, well, that song I did specifically for my stand-up act. And I spent so fucking long writing it because I wanted to make sure it was bulletproof and that it couldn't be misconstrued.
Exactly.
And because that's the last thing I want.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the only way you can be upset by it is if you're too dumb to understand irony or racist.
Yeah.
And I don't like either of those kinds of people. Dumb people irritate me and racist irritate me.
Yeah.
So.
No, that made me crack up like real loud, especially after just listening to like, I don't know, boring shit. You can't even understand half the shit people talk about.
Yeah.
And then you can actually come and clearly understand what you're saying. And I'm like, man, that's what I've been hearing, man. Like all that shit you say, like what racist people say, I've been hearing that shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's one of the things where it's like you can laugh at it. And I like that because sometimes I get so mad.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, specifically when I was younger, like, I just got really mad and basically imploded a lot.
Yeah.
So like to laugh at something is actually like really a relief too.
Yeah, and I want people to laugh, and I ideally I want to make the racist laugh and think about their behaviour. Yeah. And think, oh shit, I do put my fuck the immigrants. I do type my fuck the immigrants things on a Samsung. You know, like
exactly
all that sort of shit. And like
it's funny.
Saying one of the lines is saying fuck that. I say Arabs. I wouldn't normally say that. It just rhymes better. Yeah. Fuck the Arabs while I'm eating kebabs. Like a lot of those people that make you kebabs are immigrants. Yeah. If like refugees for the most part that have made a business. Yeah. That's Australian. Yeah. And but fucking. You know better than me, dude. Like, you go to a kebab shop, all these racist cunts that are, like hate immigrants buying kebabs from immigrants.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
and
absurd.
What was that line about? Fuck off, we're full. What was it that?
Like the fuck off, we're full shirt that's made in China. Yeah.
I found that hilarious.
But it's I like the start of the song. I like too because I do like the old school hip hop where they'd be like, this is dedicated to my moms. Yeah. It's like, this goes out to the white people and everybody just looks at you like, oh fuck, is this some sort of shit that's gonna end up on the news? Yeah. But it's like getting sunburnt, playing golf, working part time. Yeah. All that's just the shit that white people do. That's their biggest struggle. Yeah. They wouldn't really understand what it feels like to get pat down in a store because you have fucking certain features or something like. I've had that. I've had that just from being a metalhead in Central Queensland, wearing metal clothes. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me actually. Yeah, walking down, fucking Satanist. Yeah, true that. And at the time, I was a born again Christian, which made it funnier. Yeah, hilarious. But yeah, security guards would follow me out and all this, and anything not normal, hey? Yeah, at the time I was earning really good money, so I was like. Yeah. I earn twice as much as you do. I don't need to steal shit. Yeah. And now I'm broke, so thinking about stealing shit. Nah. Yeah. But, all right, well, so I'm going to, if it's cool with you, I'll throw a couple of your songs up because we were talking about them, so I'll throw them up when we were talking about them. Yes. And how can people follow you online? So my Instagram is Lydia_White Elk. Mm-hmm. So it's like LYDIA_WHITEEELK. And that's my Instagram. And then on Facebook, it's just like Ms.She, Ms.She. Mm-hmm. And yeah. And you've got the 2 tunes on Unearthed. So and everybody Triple J Unearthed, yeah. Download them. Yeah, so Triple J Unearthed, just write Ms.She, Ms.She. And yeah. And what is the documentary thing on NITV? So the documentary is in a pilot season, so probably you guys won't. It's not that serious, but if you follow me on Facebook, I'll release that stuff. Sweet, yeah. New tracks coming. Yeah, and I got 2 like new tracks, which is one's called Colony, and it's about like why they think that assimilation works on subhumans. I don't, you know what I mean? That's what they say we are. And then the other one is like just more of like a reminiscent song of like
first love.
Oh,
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah, just something light.
Why not?
Yeah.
We need that too.
Soulish.
You
yeah.
need something to sit in a bubble bath with sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ms.She.
All right, thank you.
So have a fun flight all the way back to Canada.
Thank you.
Enjoy that.
Thank you.
In a tube of farts for 15 hours.
Yeah.
Hypermanic Noize.